Yeah, I think it does because like I said, it's not just he's a popular guy. It's just that they know what he's gone through. They live it and breathe it. They see even a guy like Ryan Sessegnon going through on a daily basis, and it's a constant reminder to all the players that it's sometimes a fickle world they live in where you can do everything right and still fate will sort of point its finger at you and make things difficult. And it's why every time they're out there training, I expect them to be training even on a cold day like this with a smile on their face because there's an alternative to it, and they've got guys living and breathing that. So, but they're a pretty close group. They certainly have become close in recent times, and they all felt, you could see it even on the day, at the game, that they really felt, for what he went through and quite emotional about it. But, I think his demeanour helps because he's just, like I say, such a positive guy that, they know he's going to be back.
Just what's the feeling at the club about the tackle by Matty?
Nothing really changed. I mean, I said after the game, I think it was a great tackle, but you let the referees and the officials deal with that, and from our perspective, it was dealt with on the day.
Done.
Ange, you'll probably be aware that Spurs have beaten City in 5 of the last 7 league games, and they have done it in a style that's kind of anathema to what you're going to do. Is there anything you can take from looking back at those games? I mean, will you watch those games and look back or not?
Well, I think there's a reason I'm sitting here. And the reason is that the end game is not to beat City. Yeah, because like you said, if that's the end game, then that's been done. There's a reason I'm sitting here. So, no, is the short answer. Not because I'm dismissive of that, because it's a hell of an achievement to knock them off, absolutely. But it's not why I'm here. It's not the end game. It's not, like I said, it's not. I'm not trying to set up a team to beat Manchester City. I'm trying to set up a team to be successful. And, if that was enough, what you're suggesting, I wouldn't be sitting here. There'd be somebody else sitting here. So I take that as a kind of pointer to me about. And look, it's not, like I said, I understand why people would kind of think that way, and it's a legitimate question. Why wouldn't you do it if you know it's going to be successful? But I don't think I was appointed. Well, I'd be surprised if I was appointed and people would expect me to go down that route knowing who I am and sort of what I stand for as a manager.
Are you conscious that kind of successful record at City from outside the Spurs bubble, I guess, adds weight to, or adds scrutiny to the way you're going to play?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, We need to be scrutinised. I need to be scrutinised. I need to be questioned. Like I said, that's what tests my resolve. I ain't going to change, but bring it on. Because it doesn't just test me, it tests the players, it tests the club. How resolved are we about doing this? Because you're going to go through, like I said, you look at all the top teams, they've all been through this process, through the tough times. They all got questioned, they all got scrutinised, they all got, they're all had criticism come their way. How did they handle it? The ones that are sort of through the other side, and how did other ones who handled it differently, where are they now? I think there's always indicators there, but it's maybe not as exciting to kind of not buckle at this time. It might seem a bit sort of boring to say, well, no, why didn't he change? But it's not because I'm, like I said, I have a real strong belief in what I do and where we're heading, and I'm just not going to waver from it.
You joined CFG as a coach. It's your second job outside of Australia. How important was that, and what was it like working for this sort of global organisation?
Yeah, look, it was good. Obviously it was a bit of a. It wasn't your typical sort of CFG sort of club because they didn't have total control of it. So there wasn't the same sort of interaction and influence that there is at other clubs. But it did expose me to some brilliant people in there and the way they work. And I was fortunate. I mean, I'll be forever sort of indebted to Brian Marwood. He was kind of the first one who kind of noticed me out in Oz, and we started sort of a relationship back then in terms of him sort of following my career, and he was the one that sort of pointed me towards Yokohama when I left Australia, and it was because, you know, obviously they had a club in Australia at the time, and he'd make frequent visits, and, you know, he's been a real source of support for me all the way along, and within that, you know, I got to visit City, watch them train, and met Pep, and I think Mikel was there at the time, and, you know, the way they worked, so it was sort of, I guess for somebody like me, it was gave me some belief in myself that other people could see what, you know, on this side of the world anyway, that, you know, what I was doing had some merit, and yeah, it was great to just be able to interact, and then, you know, my main interaction was with people behind the scenes there around recruiting and, you know, around their methodology, and it was great just to have that access of information, which, you know, is not afforded to everybody. So, like I said, I'll forever be sort of indebted, particularly, like I said, to Brian Marwood for sort of the journey I've been on.
Just, this isn't meant to sound facetious, but do they have FFP there? Did they back you in the transfer market during this?
Yeah, it was different. Like I said, it was because, you know, they've only got a sort of 20% share of the club, so it's not like they kind of make all decisions there. But when it came to our foreign recruitment, you know, I could lock into their database, and they literally had, you know, just about every football in the world tracked. And it's fair to say I wasn't competing with the same players as them. Our budget was a bit different, but just being able to access the information they had at the time and say, look, you know, this is what I need, and talking to the people behind the scenes there who were brilliant, you know, allowed me then to sort of make decisions around particularly foreign players, which ones we bring in, and just the way they worked within that context, because those kind of, like I said, you know, not many people are sort of exposed, although, you know, the world's changed now, and most football clubs, you know, do their recruiting in a similar way, but for me back then it was great exposure.
Tom?
Hi, Ange. You've said before how you quite enjoy the early stages of being a club when people are questioning you. So how much are you enjoying it right now in this game?
Yeah, I think I enjoy it after I've come out the other side. No, I love it, mate. I love it. It's just because it's, like I said, I don't think anyone goes into management or anything you do in life thinking it's going to be smooth. There's going to be some rough moments, and you've got to be prepared for that, and you've got to enjoy that. The alternative is I'm not in a job, you know, and I'm sitting on my couch and have no pressure on me, no one questioning anything. So being in a role, and look, I'm at a fantastic football club. I'm in the best league in the world, getting challenged every week. Why wouldn't I be enjoying it, every minute of it? But, you know, in these times, the reason I think I really sort of relish them is because, like I said, my belief gets tested on a daily basis, whether internally or externally, because invariably, even internally, people will always ask you these questions, you know, can you do this? You know, are you able to still continue to play this way? Or, you know, is it working? Is it not working? All those kind of things. And, you know, when I lay my head at night, I just believe in it. And I get up next day thinking, I feel strongly about that. Now, you know, it may all end up in a heap, mate. I don't know, because there's no guarantees. But my gut tells me it won't. So I enjoy it.
I was struck by something you said a couple of weeks ago. I think after the Chelsea game, somebody asked you, is this your first big test? And you said, I know, maybe losing the best player ever in the Premier League competition was one of them. I was thinking, wow, obviously we all think Harry Kane's fantastic, but it sounded like you think he's the greatest player to ever have played in the Premier League. So by definition, is he even better than Erling Haaland?
I don't think I said he was the best. I think I was missing too. I think he's the best ever here. But he'd be close, I reckon, Harry, in terms of Premier League greats. And I think there's a similarity there around their ability to finish and their focus on you know, scoring goals, really strong. Because, as we know, scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in our game, right? And finding players who do that on a regular basis is literally finding gold in our game, you know. And why it's so difficult is not so much a technical thing, even a tactical thing. It's really a mindset thing, because you know as a striker you're going to miss some chances. No one, even the best strikers in the world, will miss chances, and more often than not, it affects 95% of players who play that in that position, whether they like to admit it or not. That elite 5% just don't. You know, they've got a real laser eye focus, and you can see that in Erling. Harry's certainly got it, and that's why they're so rare to come along. I think it's just a real, and I experienced that even with working with H here, you know, just for a little bit. You know, you watch him at training, he could put the ball exactly where he wanted to, time after time after time, and it's a rare sort of commodity, and you see it, like I said, with Erling as well, and I'm sure as he gets more experienced and. You know, because you've got to understand that every game that starts, whether you're Harry Kane or Erling Haaland, the opposition are going to try and stop you. You're not hiding in the shadows. It's pretty obvious. And yet they have the strong enough mindset to overcome that. It's not an easy thing to do.
Kieran, and then finish with Tom, please.
Just test your memory a little, going back to July 2019 when Yokohama played Pep City. Can you just talk through what can you remember of that, the build-up, the game itself, and then afterwards everyone was suddenly in awe because you had about 58% possession, which was just unheard of against City. Yeah. You find it strange, everyone suddenly talking about that.
You know, I remember it well because, and again, you know, you got to put some context. They were in pre-season, we were kind of mid-season, so we were in good sort of physical condition. But it was one of those moments, a bit like, you know, what being questioned today, where you can play that game and sort of, okay, you know, it was the year we won it and we were going really well and it was important. It was kind of mid-season for us, and we could have gone into that game saying, okay, let's see if we can beat Manchester City. Let's just see if we can beat, and you know, how can we go about trying to beat Manchester City? Or we can go in and just say, let's go play our football against Manchester City and see where that takes us. And that's what we did. You know, I just said to the boys, just let's go, keep the ball, press them, be aggressive, just do what we do on a weekly basis and see. And you know what, if we get smacked 6-0, we get smacked 6-0, but we've measured ourselves. And we came out of that game, the players anyway, with real belief that, you know what, even against the very best, and like I said, they were in pre-season, so we understood that, but they felt really good about themselves, even though we lost 3-1 on the day, I think it was 3-1, yeah. The players felt really good about themselves, that you know, they enjoyed it, you know, they enjoyed that challenge, you know, they got punished because, you know, Raheem was an unbelievable player, they never faced anyone like him before, but we actually played out a few times against real good press. We pressured them, we made them make mistakes, and we got belief out of it. And that's, I think, the only way you can. So, really, you know, and you know, for us as a group at that time, it was kind of the perfect exercise to say that, you know, let's continue down this path. This is the team we want to be. And yeah, look, in the aftermath, yeah, some nice things were said, but then the next day people moved on, the circus left town, and I was left in Yokohama.
Just a quick one on Heung-min Son. The stats say he's actually made more sprints than any Premier League player this season. He's also been caught offside, I think. Is it just about sort of fine-tuning now that he's making those runs as a striker versus the winger, and that's sort of part of your job to try and coach him better as a new start?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, some of it is still us, I think, understanding. I think there's a couple of times, even last week, where just that millisecond, we could have played the ball a little bit earlier, and his timing was perfect. You know, so you know, it's part of it's just understanding, because obviously Sonny's a different kind of striker than sort of Harry was, who's been here for a very long time. So the players are kind of used to having a focal point is a bit different. So I think it's a combination of both. Sonny sort of timing, but like I said, if we passed it millisecond early, his timing's actually perfect, because how are you going to catch a team, you know, unless it's kind of perfect at both ends. So it's a bit of both. But you know, what isn't undeniable is that even from offside positions, he's still finishing things. You know, he's still scoring goals, and that's still, like I was saying before, that's still the hardest part of the game. I mean, I think it was the first one he's broken through. He's beaten Martinez so well on a one-on-one, which wasn't an easy finish. So you know the quality is there. It's just about, like I said, you know, a little bit of his runs, but also us maybe seeing things just that little bit earlier.
Tom, finish us off, please.
You talked before about how important it is to have the players having belief in your methods. I wonder, is this the kind of time when it's presumably pretty easy when you're winning and quite high?
Yeah, yeah.
When you lose 3 in a row,
Yeah.
does that become much harder to kind of keep it going forward?
Not much harder, but that's what I'm talking about. So, you know, I said before, you get scrutinised externally and internally. I'm sure that the players are sitting there going, well, is this going to really work? You know, is it going to work against Man City? So they're justifiable questions that they need to ask. And my role is to, within this process, is to kind of show them that this is still the way forward for us as a group. You know, if we're ever going to sort of bridge that gap to being a successful side, then we have to sort of, you know, believe in the kind of football we want to play. And look, I think, you know, even though sort of the last three results haven't been great, I don't think like the players have felt like they've struggled out there. You know, I think they still felt like there were parts of the game where we were really dominant, so they can see that when we're on it and we're doing things right, that, you know, even at this stage, even with so many absences, we're still a very good football team. So I don't feel like it's, you know, at a point where, you know, it's kind of I'm losing people or on the verge of losing anyone. The challenge comes if it stays that way. You know, if we're not getting a change, you know, a turn. And like I said, when you look at the sort of the first third of the season, you know, there are a couple of areas where we can be better. And you know, if we were better, we probably wouldn't have, you know, sort of had the adverse results we've had in the last three games.
You said that all the kind of top clubs have very clear identities and they're moving away from, but we have seen some of the best coaches adapt to different teams, different opponents. I mean, do you think that it's because you're still early in your tenure that it's more important, or is that going to be the case all the way through?
No, but what I'm saying is that a plan is that you have a coach. So it doesn't mean the coach does the same thing every week. Or has, you know, there are plenty of coaches who coach very differently to me, but they're at that club for 4 or 5 years and they have success. So that's what I'm talking about when I say a plan. It's not about just playing one way or having a clear identity. It's like, well, having a plan means getting the right people involved in your football club that you believe will take you where you want to do, and then you invest in them, and you invest in the club, you invest in the playing squad, and you stick to that plan. But it doesn't mean that that's just sort of exactly the same as anyone else. They're all very different. I mean, City are different to Arsenal, Arsenal are different to Liverpool, Liverpool's different to both of them. But as far as I can see, that they've got the same managers and they've gone through tough times. But they obviously saw something in them to say, well, let's... And you have to show something. It's not just about blindly appointing someone and saying, well, you've got 5 years. Those managers all showed they had a plan, and the people behind them go, you know what, let's back these people.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks.